Man, what a week we've had. On top of the tragedy in Las Vegas, we've also lost Tom Petty this week. So I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to share a few memories of and my experiences with Tom Petty, especially as they relate to the Beatles, and more specifically George Harrison. A video might be a weird platform for this, but I'm sharing this here because I feel like my fellow Beatle fans and music fans in general, you guys are going to get it more so than my friends or family who, to them, the most of them, this is just the death of another aging rock star. They're thinking sad but inevitable. But the death of Tom Petty, it hits a little closer to home for the Beatle family. And by the way, I've waited a few days to make this video because I didn't want anybody to think that I was like cashing in or doing it for views or anything like that. I'm really just sharing it from the heart. I know it's odd to mourn a celebrity, someone you don't know, but I think that music transcends that. Look at the way the recent deaths of Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington impacted their fans, and consider the tragic death of John Lennon and the massive outpouring of grief at the time. These guys aren't just entertainers. Their real-life ups and downs come out in their songs, and we, the listeners, we connect to them, the songs and the artists themselves. I don't want to wax poetic, but there is a bond there. So anyway, back to Tom Petty. I'll start here. I only saw Tom Petty live in performance one time. That was 2002, Lexington, Kentucky at Rupp Arena. It was a great show, but to be absolutely honest, there were no standout epic moments. It was really just a solid show, soup to nuts, and it just so happened to be performed by one of the world's best rock bands and songwriters around. But there is one specific memory I have. This concert was about a year after the death of George Harrison, and as we know, Tom and George were tight. But unfortunately, I wasn't well versed in the traveling Wilburys at the time. So imagine my surprise and delight when in the middle of the set, Petty walked up to the mic and lovingly talked about his friend George. And then after this intro, he and the band played I Need You, George's cut off the Help album from 1965. Learning about their friendship later on, it was a really cool feeling knowing that Tom and his band appreciated George enough to dig kind of deep back into the catalog and play this early track. It was memorable, and fortunately for all of us, Tom played I Need You at the concert for George in 2003, so it is well documented. I'll link to a video of this performance, as well as the set list of the Lexington concert in the description if you want to go check it out. Another performance that is linked to Tom in my mind is the 2004 performance of While My Guitar Gently Weeps. This was done as part of the induction ceremony of George to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist. This video, currently with nearly 50 million views, is most notable for Prince's 3-minute guitar performance at the end. In my opinion, this solo was both killer, but dare I say, over the top. It's hard to imagine George not giggling a little if he were there to see Prince fall off the stage in the middle of wailing on his guitar to be caught by an assistant, but I digress. The onstage band that day was a slight incarnation of the traveling Wilburys, with George's spirit obviously present in song, and both Petty and Jeff Lynne on stage. Throw in some high-caliber musicians who aren't quite household names, and some who are, like Steve Winwood, and we've got ourselves a supergroup. But the reason I bring this up today is Tom's performance. He shared vocals with Lynne, and at times George's son Danny Harrison. The vocal is earnest and clear, and is supported by intense musicianship all around him. Prince's solo is unforgettable, but I think that few lead vocalists would have done this song as much justice as Tom Petty did that day. There is a must-read New York Times article that dissects exactly how this performance went down, with interviews from Petty and others in the band. I've also linked to it in the description. So yeah, this wasn't intended to be a deep dive or history lesson, just a few thoughts from my heart. I love Tom's work beyond the Beatle connections, but it is that part of his artistry that tugs on my heartstrings just a little more and makes this rock star death just a little harder to handle. Rest easy, Tom. We'll miss you.